So all week long we've had so many illustrious and learned devotees giving class. Somehow or other today you're stuck with me. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 85, Lord Krishna instructs Vasudeva, verse number 10. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Indriyam indriyāṇāṁ tvam devāś tad-anugrahaḥ avabodho bhavān buddher jīvasyānusmṛtiḥ satī indriyam tvam devāś tad-anugrahaḥ avabodho bhavān buddher jīvasyānusmṛtiḥ satī indriyaṁ tvam devāś tad-anugrahaḥ avabodho bhavān buddher jīvasyānusmṛtiḥ satī indriyam, the power to illuminate their objects. To and indriyāṇāṁ, of the senses. Tvam, you. Devāḥ, the demigods, who regulate the various senses. Cha, and tat, of them, the demigods. Anugrahaḥ, the mercy by which one's senses can act. Avabodhaḥ, the power of decision. Bhavān, you. Buddheḥ, of intelligence. Jīvasya, of the living entity. Anusmṛtiḥ, the power of recollection. Satī, correct. Translation: you are the power of the senses to reveal their objects, the senses presiding demigods, and the sanction these demigods give for sensory activity. You are the capacity of the intelligence for the decision-making and the living being's ability to remember things accurately. Translation, please repeat. You are the power of the senses to reveal their objects. The senses presiding demigods and the sanction these demigods give for sensory activity. You are the capacity of the intelligence for decision-making and the living being's ability to remember things accurately. That's the one I need, huh? Purport by the followers of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Visvanath Chakravarti points out that whenever one of the material senses is involved with its objects, the presiding demigod of that particular sense organ must give his sanction. Acharya Visvanath Chakravarti explains the word anusmṛtiḥ in this verse in its higher sense as one's recognition of himself as an eternal spirit soul. Indriyaṁ tu indriyāṇāṁ tvam, devāś tad-anugrahaḥ, avabodho bhavān buddher, jīvasyānusmṛtiḥ satī. You are the power of the senses to reveal their objects, the senses presiding demigods, and the sanction these demigods give for sensory activity. You are the capacity of the intelligence for decision-making and the living entity's ability to remember things accurately. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Gyanandjana Shalakaya Chaksurum Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupam Karamayam Vidati Svapadantikam Adadanastryanandantai Mridam Yache Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padambujo Dulisyam Janma Janmani Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubheva Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So here Vasudeva, recognizing Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as everybody's been discussing all week. This is the difference between Nanda and Vasudeva. Vasudeva understands that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Nanda and Yasoda have no such cognition. They have a very sweet relationship. And we'll see after all these prayers, then Krishna brings back the sweetness. So these verses remind us that in Bhagavad-Gita, Krishna explains that those who think that they're the only doer, they're very unintelligent. Because there's so many factors in any activity that we undertake. And we have no, all we do is just desire. Just like next door, they have this big crane. So there's a little guy sitting in a little compartment, and he pushes a little button, and the crane goes like that. And then it lifts, a huge pack of cement bags or something, that's very heavy. He pushes another little button, So we're like that. We're sitting inside this body, but we say this is my body. But we have very tenuous control over this body. It's like sometimes without our desire, this body's getting sick. Nobody wakes up in the morning, I'm going to get sick today with nice fever and headache and everything. But somehow or this, beyond our control, this body becomes sick, it becomes healthy also. So we're not the only doer. Ultimately here we're hearing there's even demigods in charge of each sense. There's one demigod, we went to get his mercy, because now that we're old, we're not remembering things accurately, but there's one demigod who helps us remember things accurately, so we're very anxious to get his favor. So here he's describing all these different things. And at the end of this chapter, then we'll see that, because the title of this chapter is that he instructs Vasudeva, and then later we'll see that Devaki, she asks that for your guru, you brought back to life his son. What about me? I'm your mother. What about my 6 sons? Because for his guru, this is very interesting, because one time we had, because every few years there's Kumbh Mela somewhere. Most famous one, of course, is Prayag, but there's also one in Ujjain. So we had a big camp there. So I studied very carefully the chapter of Gopal Champu by Srila Jiva Goswami describing Krishna and Balaram in the Gurukul. It's a very, very interesting chapter. Many, because Jiva Goswami always tries to bring the Braj mood. Even these are outside of, well, I'm not very expert in, outside of Braj, but he always brings the Braj mood in. So this chapter starts that after Krishna is killed, comes, and he did it very dramatically. He dragged him all around just to make sure everybody knew that he's finished, and so then Vasudeva and Devaki, they requested Krishna to stay with them for some time. So Krishna stayed back in Mathura, and all the Brijbasis went back to Braj. So at that time, Rohini was also there. She had been in Braj. Now the Kamsa is dead. She also returned to Mathura to be with her husband Vasudeva. But she had been there in Braj Leela. So whenever she talks about Braj Leela, all the other queens, they laugh. Vasudeva and Devaki get grave when she talks about Braj. And all the other queens, they start laughing. So, oh, Rohini, you stayed with those cowards for so long, and they washed your brain with their dahi and milk. Just like in the old days, they used to accuse us of brainwashing. And Prabhu said, yes, your brain is dirty, we need to wash it. So they gave you so much dahi and milk, they washed your brain, and you say all these funny things. So she became quiet, and Vasudeva and Devaki also, they became quiet. They didn't discuss anything about Braj. But then Vasudeva began to consider that Krishna and Balaram were the proper age to have the Upanayan sanskar, receiving the Brahman thread. So he began planning big ceremony for the Upanayan sanskar of Krishna and Balaram. He was making a big celebration, but Krishna noticed that he didn't invite anybody from Braj. And Rohini also noticed, but she understood, the people of Mathura are very uncomfortable around the Brijvasis, so she also didn't say anything. But Krishna notices, so then he has a very dear friend in Mathura named Sudama. Because whoever outside of Braj has the name of a Sakha in Vrindavan, they're very, very dear to Krishna. Just like we know in Mathura there's Sudama Mali, but there's also Sudama, the cowherd boy in Braj, there's Sridham, then there's also, of course in Hastinapur we have Arjun, but in Braj we have Arjun Sakha. So all these people who have names of the Brijvasis, they're very dear to Krishna because they remind him of Braj. So he called Sudama Mali and he told him, I want you to take a message to Nanda and Upananda, and no third pair of ears should hear this. No third pair of ears should hear this. So Sudama brought this letter to Nanda, and Nanda and Upananda, they read it, that my dear father, I have seen that here in Mathura, Vasudeva is arranging for our Upanayan sanskar. And I have understood their conspiracy. Because if they give me the Upanayan sanskar, then they will make me a Kshatriya and their son. Because I'm a Kshatriya, then I'm the son of Vasudeva and Devaki. But you should know that I will only accept Gopatva, Gopavarn. I won't accept Kshatriya Varn. I will only accept Gopavarn. So you arrange the Yogapavit of all my friends, and seeing them as non-different from me, you award me, in them, you award me this Gopavarn. I will not accept this Kshatriya, I will only become a Gopa. So Jiva Goswami says, since they didn't invite the Brishbasis, we won't talk about that anymore. But in Braj, Nanda Baba and Upananda, they arranged all of Krishna's friends and they performed the Upanayan Sanskar. And seeing Krishna's friends as non-different from him, they awarded Krishna Gopatra, to become a Gopa. And no one else could understand this secret. So now that they had the Upanayan Sanskar, they began to discuss with all the seniors of the Yadu dynasty that it's proper now that we should go to Gurukula. And they began to discuss who should be their guru. And they finally concluded that actually there's no one more qualified than Ved Vyas to be our guru. He's the most learned, he's most prominent of all the Vaishnavas. But that's the problem, he's a Param Vaishnava. He will know who we are, so he will feel shy instructing us. So better we worship and better we accept as guru someone who's a Shivupasak, someone who worships Shiva. And there's no one better than that person who was born in Kashi, who wandered in Prabhashetra, where later the Yadavas will kill each other. And he wandered in Prabhashetra. Now he stays in Avantipur at the side of Lord Shiva, Sandipani Guru, who's very learned in all the Vedas, Vedangas and everything. The most learned Sandipani Guru is the best person to accept as Guru. So they began to present this idea to all their seniors. Of course, Rohini and Devaki, they were quite upset, but Krishna calmed them. He said, look, if I'm with Balaram, then I have 1 crore of friends. And if Balaram's with me, then I have 10 crore of friends. So you don't worry about us, we're okay. So then Vasudeva gave some Brahmins to travel with them and carry their things for them. And because now they've taken brahmacharya, they decided they shouldn't go by any vehicle. Brahmacharya is not actual brahmacharya, not supposed to go by any vehicle. So they were going to walk to Avantipur. But Jiva Goswami explains those 4 feet, by the mercy of those 4 feet, everyone in the whole universe is crossing over this ocean of material existence. So what better vehicle than their 4 feet? Their 4 lotus feet are the best vehicle for them to go. And they warned Vasudeva, if anybody understands that we have left Mathura, then our enemies will take advantage to attack. So no one should know that we've gone. And the Brishbasis, they're just staying there in Braj, a little ways away, and they're barely hanging on to their life. If they've heard that we've gone to Avantipur, they'll give up their lives completely. So you just tell everyone we're staying in a kutir in Mathura and observing Ekant Vrat, staying alone for some days, and not receiving any visit. Don't let anybody know that we've left Mathura. And no one on the road recognized them. But everybody on the road was enchanted by these 2 young boys. And they began to discuss amongst themselves about these 2 boys. They said, one of these boys, he appears to be the Swayam Param Jyoti himself. And this other one, well, we can't tell. Is he black or is he light? We can't tell. And the ladies on the roof, they would go to the roof and watch as these boys wandered from village to village, and they would discuss amongst themselves, who is that fortunate woman that gave birth to these lovely Sham and Gauravarn boys? Who is that lucky lady who held them on her divine lucky lap and suckled them and gave them milk from her own breast? And they would also discuss, and who will be that divinely lucky lady who will get this Sham Kantwala as her Kant? Kant means luster, so he's Sham Kant, he's blackish. And Kant also means husband. So that Sham Kantwala, that lucky, divinely lucky lady who will become his Kant? And discussing all these things, their ears would tickle, and they would close their ears discussing all these things. And Krishna and Balaram, they never stayed where all the other travelers stayed. They'd only stay in goshalas, wherever there was cows, and always get nice cow's milk to drink. In this way, they wandered on the way to Avantipur. Finally, they reached Avantipur, and they saw in the distance, Sandipani Muni was sitting like Brihaspati, Jupiter, in the Taramandal, in the assembly of the stars. If you see at night Jupiter sometimes, he's the brightest of all the things in the sky, except for the moon, of course. So Sandipani Muni was sitting there, and all the Brahmins, they began to see these young two boys coming, and they began to discuss amongst themselves that it appears that the clouds of two different seasons have appeared at once. The white clouds of the black clouds of Shravan, the first month of the rainy season, that's called Shravan. The Shravan Purnima, that's Balaram's appearance day. So those clouds we saw very much this year. They're blackish. And now we're coming to Sharad Purnima. The clouds of Sharad season are white. They've already rained out all of their rain, so they're white. It appears that the two clouds of two different seasons have appeared at once. Someone said, no, it actually appears that the sun and moon have arisen at once. But actually, this blackish fellow, he's destroying our analogy, because the moon has got some blackishness, and it pales in front of the sun. But this moon, even in the presence of the sun, he shines brighter than the sun. And then they noticed that they had a particular type of Brahmin thread, and particular type of dhoti, and particular type of belt that all showed that they were Kshatriyas. So in their Brahminical pride, they did not stand up when Krishna and Balaram came. But Jiva Goswami said they were just small boys. If the Brahmins had stood up, they would be in a higher level than Krishna and Balaram. It's not proper for junior to be in a higher level than a senior. So their Brahminical pride made them act properly by staying beneath Krishna and Balaram. And then Krishna and Balaram, they were carrying those wooden instruments that the brahmacharis carry, and they put them on the ground in front of them, prostrated themselves, and begged Sandipani Muni, the most learned of the learned, the Deena Bandhu, the friend of the fallen, and wonderful, knowledgeable, who has great knowledge, please accept us as your disciples. And Sandipani Muni said, yes, my time is very difficult to get, so you should pay close attention to whatever I instruct. And seeing that you are Kshatriyas, I'm going to have to curb down your natural pride. Tomorrow you'll go with your classmates begging. Now the begging of Krishna Balaram became very interesting, because the person who was giving became the beggar, and the beggar became the giver. How is that? Wherever Krishna Balaram went to beg, those people became the beggars for the darshan of Krishna Balaram, and Krishna Balaram were giving the darshan. And wherever they went, they always got whatever they desired. Those poor Brahmins that Vasudeva sent, they just became coolies, carrying all the collection of Krishna and Balaram on their heads. And whenever they went to the house of some young girl, although she was in her youth, they only saw her with Matrabhav, they saw her as mother. And they only saw Krishna and Balaram with Putrabhav, just like sons. And this was very correct. And whenever they would return, other thing about their begging is they considered that if we go to unknown persons, there may be some misbehavior. But still, the brahmachari should not distinguish this is a known person and not person. So they used to do their begging. They only went to the houses of their classmates, but they did it in such a sneaky way. Even the Brahmins who were accompanying them could not understand. And whoever went with them, they always got so much collection. And when they would come back, Sandipani Guru would be so surprised to see the collection of Krishna and Balaram. And he would distribute it with great curiosity, kotiki, he would just distribute everything to everyone. And he was so enamored of Krishna and Balaram, he couldn't ask them to do any service, any personal service to him. But Krishna and Balaram, behind his back, they would do so many personal services to him without him knowing. Jiva Goswami says, even our lords would do the sweeping. He says, just thinking of my Lord with a broom in his hand, that is, broom means that's the lowest caste of people, that's the sweepers, Krishna had a broom in his hand. He says, just, my heart is filled with wonder thinking of my Lord picking up the broom. And one day, and then Krishna and Balaram, whatever Sandipani Muni instructed, he would instruct them one Veda one day. By the end of the day, they knew that Veda and its Vedangas perfectly. Then he taught them the 64 arts. In the same way, they would learn one art in the morning, and by evening they would be proficient. In this way, in 64 days, they learned the 64 arts. All the other boys with them, even those who were advanced in Gurukula, were so surprised. Jiva Goswami says, can the ordinary birds soar like Garuda just because they're birds? Just because they're students? Can they soar like Krishna and Balaram? One day, Sandipani Muni's wife asked her husband, Swami, who is the best of your students? He said, this Shyam and Gaur Kantwalis, they're the best of my students. But I never see them doing any service to you. What can I do? Being bound by sneh, by affection, I'm unable to ask them to do anything. But I know out of my sight, they do so many wonderful services. Then one day, at the evening, black clouds were assembling. And Sandipani Muni's wife asked all the boys, quickly go and bring some wood, otherwise the wood will be all wet. There'll be no way to cook tomorrow. And everyone saw the darkness was coming and black clouds were assembling. Everyone was afraid to go. But Krishna and Balaram, when they heard about this, they began to brag, we will go far in the forest. Now it's interesting, this pastime in Bhagavatam, it's Krishna and Sudama. But anyway, in Gopal Champa, he says Krishna and Balaram. Anyway, Krishna and Balaram, they both bragged, we'll go far in the forest because all the good wood has been taken nearby. We'll go far in the forest, get the best wood. So they ran off and all the boys, other students ran behind them. But feeling the cold wind and seeing the black clouds and the impending darkness, they all ran back. Finally, Krishna and Balaram, they got the best wood in the forest. But darkness descended, they lost their way. It began to rain. They found a hollow tree. So naturally, they both hid inside that hollow tree, yes? Jiva Goswami says, no, they put the wood inside the tree to keep it dry. And Krishna and Balaram spent the night underneath the tree. And Jiva Goswami says, thinking of my lords in such a situation, my tongue doesn't work. I cannot describe anything further. In the morning, Sandipani Muni, he didn't see Krishna and Balaram. And upon inquiry, he found out what had happened. He ran to his wife. Murk's tree, foolish woman, what have you done? They've gone into the forest in the middle of the storm. And Sandipani Muni, without taking his bath, without performing his morning duties, without chanting his mantras, nothing. He just began running through the forest. And all the boys ran behind him. And he didn't even pay attention. All his cloth was being torn by the thorns and things like this. And he was getting scratched, but he didn't care a thing for it. He was just running. Where Krishna and Balaram? Lost in the forest. And Krishna and Balaram, they saw Sandipani Muni running like this, not caring for himself. And they hung their heads in shame. Why? They thought, oh, he must have heard our bragging and we failed in our mission. And he's come to chastise us. And Sandipani Muni, when he got there, he embraced Krishna and Balaram to his chest. And with his tears, he began to bathe them. Just like at the end of Gurukul, there's a special abhishek when the student, I can't remember the name just now, that demigod is not helping me. Samavartan's abhishek. And he blessed them that you are the best of all my disciples, and may all knowledge become visible within, revealed within your hearts. And he took Krishna, he had all the other boys take the wood on their heads, and he brought Krishna and Balaram back to the ashram. In this way, Jiva Goswami explains, everybody in the whole world knows that Sanipani Muni was the guru of Krishna and Balaram. But what they don't know was actually Krishna was the guru of Sanipani Muni, because Sanipani Muni had many doubts and many shortcomings in philosophical points. But by teaching Krishna and Balaram, all of those difficulties and misunderstandings of his became corrected. So Krishna was actually the guru of Sanipani Muni. And Sanipani Muni giving knowledge to Krishna, that was like the sun drying up the water from the ocean, carrying it onto the mountains, dropping it down as snow and rain. And the rain running back to the ocean was like Sanipani Muni giving instruction to Krishna. So in this way, they began to discuss about the dakshina. This is the point. So Sanipani Muni's wife said, our son was washed away by the ocean. So we should, you should ask to get our son back. They're so wonderful, these two boys, they can do anything. So when they revealed this to Krishna and Balaram, they immediately went to the shore of the ocean. And Jiva Goswami gives such a wonderful explanation there, that Krishna began to talk to Balaram. He just see how the ocean is bowing down to receive us. And listen to that roar, he's singing our glories. Listen to the roaring sound, singing our glories. And he's offering so many beautiful white flowers at our lotus feet, you know, the foam of the ocean. This way it describes so sweet. Anyway, somehow Krishna and Balaram, they get the son back. So they give him back to Sanipani Muni. So somehow in this chapter, I don't know if it's because sometimes Bhagavatam is not in order, but anyway, somehow they've gone back from, because we were in Kurukshetra, now they've gone back to Dwarka. And Devaki says, look, for your guru, you brought back his son. I'm your mother, what about my sons? So Krishna Balaram, they descended into Sutala to see Bali Maharaj, who was so ecstatic to see them, and offered so many beautiful prayers. And then he gives the 6 sons back to, explains the whole history. They were the sons of Marichi. Marichi had 6 sons. And they saw Brahma chasing after his daughter, and they laughed. But this is very improper. We should feel sorry if somebody has some fall down. We shouldn't laugh at them or become disgusted. We should feel sorry for them, try to assist them. But they laughed. So for that offense, they took birth as the sons of Hiranyakashipu. And then they had to take another birth as the sons of Kalanemi. And Kalanemi became Kans. And when they were the sons of Hiranyakashipu, behind his back, they went and worshipped Lord Brahma to get the same benedictions that their father had. So he became upset that, you know, nobody's more powerful. Who's this Lord Brahma? They went behind his back to Lord Brahma to get the same powers as him. So he cursed them that your own father will kill you. So these were all the sons of, and there's a whole other story behind that, how they got cursed and everything. Anyway, it's a whole big long story. So Bali Maharaj very happily gave back the 6 sons, and they came there, and we'll see in a later verse here, in this chapter that Devaki, on seeing her sons, automatically milk came from her breasts. And those 6 sons, out of a maternal love, they began to drink that milk. And the verse describes that was the Mahaprasad of the Supreme Lord. Now, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he describes how was it the Mahaprasad? This is a secret little thing. It comes way, Krishna's birth was way long time ago. And now we've gone through so many chapters, But he describes, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, when Vasudeva became a small child, then Devaki, she thought, now, because Vasudeva informed them, you have to take me to Gokul and exchange me with the daughter born to Yasoda. So Devaki thought, oh, that's going to take a long time. He just was born, I should suckle him. So this is a secret little thing we find out here in this chapter, that Devaki, she suckled Krishna before Vasudeva carried Vasudeva to Gokul. So when they drank that milk, it was the Mahaprasad. It had been taken by Krishna first when he was a small child. So they were all finally free from their curse and able to return back to Swarga as demigods again. So these are all nice little secret things that was from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, but our Jiva Goswami describes so nicely about Krishna Balaram in Gurukul and their Guru Dakshina. So maybe somebody has some questions or some comments. Yes. Oh, that was the other thing I forgot, was they called out their names when they met Sandipani Muni. They called out their names, but they did it in a very tricky way so that nobody would know who they were. They said, we're the sons of one jewel. Jewel means Vasu. We're the sons of one jewel, one Vasu of the Yadav dynasty. And Jiva Goswami explained, this is by the logic, by saying part of a name, we understand the whole name. Just like our very dear, illustrious temple president, he always calls me Deena, but we can understand the whole word, Deena Bandhu.
Hey, Deena, can I ask
and he's always very inquisitive, so let's see what question he has for us today.
Well, when you consider the Nitya Leela of Krishna and Balaram, and they're continuously, after leaving this universe, again having their Leela, and this kind of, the same Leelas are taking place. So where does individuality come in? Is it all predestined? Like it seems like...
No, actually, it happens in an infinity of different ways also. Because sometimes we see in the Puranas that one Purana says this happened, one Purana says that happened, and the Jiva Goswami says Kalpaved, and one Kalpa it happened like that. Just like Jiva Goswami, he describes that it was Krishna and Balaram who went to the forest to collect, and Bhagavatam claims that it was Krishna, Balaram, and Sudama and Brahman. So the pastimes are going on eternally, but there's an infinite variety of pastimes.
And one who achieves perfection, he goes to that Leela first for the pastimes with the Lord, and before he goes back to Vaikuntha, Goloka.
That's what Prabhupada has explained to us, that one goes to, I forget where that's described, but he describes that first one goes to the particular universe where Krishna's pastimes are going on. You just like, you go to VIG to get trained up, to go back and do some service in your temple. So first you go there to the VIG, that's whichever universe that's going on, and you get trained up completely, and then you join the eternal pastimes of Goloka.
Thank you, Deena.
Hare Krishna. Yes?
Thank you, Prabhu, for heartfelt katha. It was so nourishing to consciousness and to our devotion towards the Lordship. Just wondering about this part when you mentioned when Krishna Balaram, when they reached Ujjain, and Sandipani asked them, like it is to curb the pride, but definitely there is no pride in them. So, what was like original motivation?
Because the point was he was living with Mahakal in Ujjain. He was this is why they accepted him as guru, because he wouldn't be able to understand who they were. He said, Vyasadeva, he'll know we're this. He'll feel shy to instruct us because he's Paramaishnava, he'll understand. But we should accept he's someone who's a worshipper of Shiva, he won't understand. So they just by seeing the externals, therefore we should be very careful, before we judge someone. Just like there's a story of the fellow who had a mongoose, and he had a little baby son. And one day he went out and he left the mongoose taking care of the son. And a snake attacked the baby. So the mongoose killed the snake.
Oh, yes.
And then when the fellow came home, he ran out the front door with blood on his mouth. The mongoose ran, and he was very happy to see his master. And he thought his master would be very happy with him. Master saw the blood on his mouth. He says, he's killed my son. He immediately killed that poor mongoose. And then when he came in the house, he saw the dead snake and he realized, he didn't see the whole scene. So they're just seeing the externals. They have a particular type of belt and a particular type of dhoti and a particular type of shoes that means that they're Kshatriyas, and so naturally Kshatriya means pride. So he didn't see the whole thing. So we should be careful about judging people.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Hare Krishna. Besides free will, how is it that others are attracted to Krishna and others are not attracted to Krishna? I mean, he's all attractive.
I don't know, Narottam just says I must be being punished by somebody. Yamaraj is punishing me that I have no attraction for Krishna's name.
So how is it that others, they...
Well, somehow or other, that's the same question. Prabhupada explained that in LA one time, I was there, and he said only by very great fortune one came in contact, only by many, many pious activities and giving in charity, only by great fortune one came in contact with the pure devotee. And the devotee said, but Prabhupada, we didn't do any pious activities. Everything we were the people that crashed Yamaraj's hard drive. Said Prabhupada, yes, I have created your fortune. So now your duty to create fortune for others.
So we should give everyone a chance,
Yes.
proposal.
Therefore, just like in the army, retreat is not an end in itself, it's just a means. When somehow you became weak, you retreat, you regroup your force, then you go back out and fight. So the kirtan retreats are nice, but we have to take it back to the streets so that people will hear the holy name and be benefited, and if not this lifetime, next lifetime they'll be attracted to Krishna. You have to take it back to the streets. I'm the movement for taking, like Ram Roy, I was in New York with Ram Roy, and it's such a wonderful program, chanting, taking kirtan back to the streets. Retreats are nice, we get a lot of association and we get strong in our chanting again, but we have to take it back to the streets.
Prabhupada says also, or Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, only those who have life, they can preach.
Preaching is our life.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much, Prabhuji, for the wonderful class. Prabhuji, can you throw some light on we hear about Purnamasi who came to Braja. So what is her connection with Sandipani Muni? Because in one place
She's
it was
the mother.
So Sandipani Muni also has like role in Braj Leela, then I mean that
Indirectly, but she came with Nandi Mukhi and Madhumangal, who are Sandipani Muni's children, her grandchildren, and Sandipani Muni's children. So indirectly he has his connection.
I mean, because this is in the context that like he was a worshipper of Shiva, so he was not aware of Lord Krishna's glories like that.
Yes.
So his mother is Purnamasi. So Purnamasi is a great devotee.
Yes, she's Yogamaya in Braj anyway. So we see that all the time. We see all of you are great devotees, but we ask, I don't know, some of you may have pious parents, but we sure didn't. So there's no other questions. We can fall down to the very soft and wonderful lotus feet of that great personality, the soft and wonderful lotus feet of that great personality who's given us this Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama.